So this is me with my first electric guitar, which has been modded over the years because I'm left-handed and it's right-handed. When I got it, the strap peg was moved from one side to the other so I could use a strap, and later on I put in side dots with a wood burning tool, which wasn't elegant, but it worked. I also put in a new pickup with a new black pick guard because black equals metal. I also had to remove the knob caps because I kept turning down the volume as I was playing accidentally. And even then, the pot itself still digged into my hand, so I ended up removing one of them and relocating another one. And later on, when I finally got a left-handed metal guitar, I basically just used that as my backup guitar, and after I bought my first 7-string, I basically stopped using it altogether. But then I wanted another 7-string so I could have one at home and one in the practice room, and also one that I could use for gigging, so it's not too expensive and looks better than just a generic black guitar. I didn't want to sell it because it wouldn't sell for much, and it was my first electric, so they're sentimental, and I think I could actually make it into a nice 7-string. Plus, if I'm doing this anyway, then I may as well change the body shape and give it a new paint. And since I wanted to make my custom guitar ever since I started playing, I thought this would be my chance to do so. And that's where this now 2-year-long project starts. I first ripped everything out, cut the body into a new shape, give it a new paint job, and there was a lot of trial and error putting everything together, so it's not as smooth looking as it could be, but I still think it looks more interesting than just the black guitar. The only thing I was really not happy with is the electronics, bridge, and the tuner. All three combined were less than 50 pounds, which I wasn't expecting much anyway. And I knew I was gonna upgrade it later down the line, which is now. So I got a set of Fishman Fluence modern humbuckers, which came with pots and extra wires, which is great because I would have had to replace them as well because my soldering wasn't the best, as you'll see later on, and it's just less thing I would have to buy. I got a hip shot bridge and some fender locking tuners. All that should make this barely playable guitar into a shred machine I wanted this to be. I will be doing a before and after comparison at the end of the video as well. After taking out the strings, I cleaned up the neck and hydrated it with some lemon oil. After that's done, I'm gonna start putting in the tuners because that should be the easiest. Though when I actually started putting them in, I had one issue. 3 of them were smaller and wouldn't stick out enough to put the string through. And yeah, I got a set of 6 because I already had one tuner which worked fine. That was from another guitar, and I don't think the low A really benefits from the locking tuners that much, and I wanted to save a couple pounds. And I do have to say that once installed, these are really nice tuners. Now the bridge was a lot more trial and error than I thought, though I love the fact that the screws were on either side of the bridge, making adjustments easy and convenient, not having to take up the strings or take the bridge apart to move them around like with others. I also put some new string holes, and I made sure that they were wide enough for the strings not to get caught like the previous one I've done, and that the sides were somewhat smoothed down as well to improve string removability. I was also blown away by how smooth adjusting the intonation was on this, especially under tension, compared to the previous one, which was a lot more harder to adjust even without the strings being on. I had to adjust a couple more times after I finished putting on the electronics. It was right distance but not quite in the middle, but after all that, it was as good as it could be. And if the net looks a bit off to you, it's because it's not actually meant for a 7-string, but it was meant for a 12-string. The eBay listing when I bought it said for 7-string guitars, and I didn't actually check the knob width until I've cut out the neck, painted it, made the adjustments on the body, and only then I actually put the knot on. In my defense, I thought it was the right size. The eBay listing said it was wider than a normal 6-string obviously, so I didn't think I would have any reasons to not trust it. But it's still wide enough to just fit everything right, but it means that I can't use just any knot that you can buy, but I would have to custom make it. And finally, the pickups and the electronic. I started by taking everything out and finding the soldering diagram. I originally was going to keep the kill switch, but as I was desoldering it from the old circuit, one of the metal prongs came out. So I'm just gonna leave it for now and just focus on the rest. And as you can see, my soldering skills have gotten a lot better since I started this project about 2 years ago. After testing the whole thing with a screwdriver and make sure it works, I had to carve some space out for the electronics and make a hole for the battery. I also had to shave the pick guard for the pickups and the bridge. I put everything together and started to adjust the intonation and the action. After all that, it was done. I still want to add a kill switch, possibly make a new custom knot, commission a professional, and I think even the frets could use a change, but that would just have to be for another time. But for now, it's gonna be great for rehearsals and for gigs. My aim was to make a left-handed 7-string that I like the look of, with a color that I wanted, and all of this for under 500 pounds, and I was able to do that, so I'm happy with the results. It could be a lot better, but for basically my first attempt at trying to make my own guitar, I think it came out pretty well. Besides the tone, listen to the intonation as well, because I think that new bridge really made a difference in how accurate the notes actually sound. I've recorded a clean, a rhythm, a crunch, and a bit of solo, and I'll put drums underneath, and this is the result.